Welcome back to the Football Tragics. We are joined by Campo and Morty. Aaron is not here, which we'll get into later, but we're assuming it means Chelsea has had another bad result. But how are we doing today, fellas?
Beautifully.
Morty, do you have that same response, or are you still a bit sour, which we'll also get into later? But are you still struggling a bit?
The games, we'll get to it. Let's go. Come on.
All right. Well, we'll start with TFT Around the Grounds. So one thing I want to bring up here, I don't know if you boys have heard about it, but it's YOUCEF BELALI. So he scored a goal in the FIFA Arab Cup to knock Qatar out of the cup, and he plays in the Qatarian League. A day later, he was terminated. Now, we don't know if that's the reason he was terminated, but there is strong reports coming out that he was terminated due to that reason. Campo, what are your thoughts on that? Is that a fair thing for a club to be like piss off, or what are your thoughts there?
If you want to play in a league like that, then you get what you're given. It's wrong, it is, but what do you expect? You're playing in the Qatarian league, like, come on.
Yeah, but if we go back to our conversation the other day, Qatar is way up above Australia and we would be pulling that sort of stuff. That's probably why we're down there, to be fair. But apparently, it's also the guy has a pre-contract with Montpellier.
He does, but it's more fun to speculate.
Yeah, it is more fun. It is fun winding up the Qatar.
We'll move on to the next one. Obviously, I don't know how much SERIA boys you guys watch, but DUSAN VLAHOVIC matched Ronaldo's SERIA goal scoring record. So this is a player that he signed for 1.95 million euros, and he's just gone and notched in 30 plus goals in the season. Surely there's a Premier League club, and I'll ask you both who you think could use him, but surely there's a Premier League club that could use him in their squad. Campo, would you take him at Spurs?
100%.
Replace him?
No. Have you seen the reports, though? There are a lot of clubs after him. He's come out and said he doesn't want to go to Arsenal. He wants to go to a big club.
Is he?
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past us to throw 50 mil at him and then just say.
He said a big club. He wants to go to a big club, not Spurs. A big club.
I know. That's. I don't know how he followed Arsenal up with big club after that, and then referring to Spurs. I don't know how that works.
No, but there's a lot of clubs that are interested in him. He's refused Fiorentina's biggest ever contract for a player.
Yeah.
So he wants out. He wants a big money move. I'm assuming he wants to play in the Prem because it's the competition to be in, and I hope he does come because he's 21 years old and he's scoring for fun.
All right, Morty, would you take him at Liverpool if it came across?
Probably, but you won't forget it's still Serie A at the end of the day, and I mean you got like 40 how old Zebra? 40 something years old. I mean Serie A has made Chris Smalling look good. It's made Tammy Abraham look good. At the end of the day, it's still Serie A.
Ronaldo's come in and he scored goals for fun in the Premier League at the moment. Obviously not as much as Salah, but he scored goals, and this kid's 16 years younger and he's scoring goals for fun. So
no, not discrediting anything or anything, but yeah, you're gonna hold it to a certain rank. So we'll let it be. But yeah.
So if you're listening out there, Morty doesn't rate the Serie A, so just like abuse him and let us know how you feel.
Well, they want 80 mil apparently. They want 80 mil apparently, but it's just going to keep going up and up and up by the time the end of the season's done. So whatever club wants to fork out 110, 120 for him, he'll go to there.
Another record that obviously has fallen under the radar. We've all been massive critics, massive praises for him in the past, and we've watched him in the Champions League. TADICS actually broke Messi's record for the most assists in a calendar year, and it's actually quite sad because I haven't heard a single thing about it besides one post that I saw on Facebook. Now, if this was a Kevin De Bruyne, a Bernardo Silva, Morty, who do you have in the midfield that's not injured at the moment? Henderson. Let's chuck Henderson in there. If this was a Henderson, this would be all over the media, but obviously it's formed behind closed doors because of who he plays for now. Campo, your club's in a bit of shambles at the moment. Surely you're smart enough to throw some money and get a midfielder. Morty, you've got no midfielders that are fit. Surely you're going after Tadic.
Nah, he's not young. Do we really need another aging midfielder?
It's a Spurs special.
Personally, I would be looking elsewhere, but you know what? Congrats. He's killed it in the Eredivisie. You can't take nothing away from his record. It's his now. But I would not be touching him.
Morty, would you touch that?
I think I would. I mean, he's done it in the Prem, so kind of. Not to that degree, but I mean, I guess like any player, you go away, you kind of perfect your craft, and you can come back and probably do a lane. We've seen he's doing it in the Champions League. Like, it's not an outlier of just you're doing it in a smaller league. He does it, and Ajax absolutely brained their group stages. So I don't see why not. Probably fits certain systems better than others. I don't think he's as versatile as you'd like, but play him in the right way, and I probably think he's getting that most out of him.
Well, we will finish on one more TFT around the ground, and only because Australia, we gave it a bit of critique in last week because of the A-League, but obviously POSTECOGLOU, Celtic, they've won their first major trophy in his era. They beat Hibernian Football Club 2-1 in the Cup, so I'm sticking to my guns that Steven Gerrard was scared that POSTECOGLOU was coming to get him, so he's jumped ship. He's headed across to the Premier League. Obviously, boys, thoughts on this? Obviously, he was fired because from the Australian job, they didn't think he could do a job, and now he's gone and won the J-League. He's gone to Celtic in a rebuild and won their first major trophy. Do you think he will ever get a move to a big, let's say, Premier League club, Spanish club maybe? Do you think that's the move, or is this his last kind of hurrah?
I'll go first. I don't see why not. I mean, besides, Gerrard's, been there, done that, Premier League legend, but he did it at Rangers. He turned him around, and he's done the same thing Ange has done. Now, I'm not saying it'll happen as quick, and I'm not saying, that the names get thrown around a lot, but maybe he doesn't jump straight to the Prem. Maybe he dives into the Championship. Maybe he comes up through them. It wouldn't surprise me if he could bring a Championship club up. Would he survive the Premier League rigours? Yet to see, but I think he could bring a club up. Maybe not. I don't know if you get the move straight off, but yeah, maybe Spain, maybe France.
I think he would be a perfect replacement if Leeds were to get rid of their coach. I think he would come in, he could work with that squad. They've got the youth, they've got the speed, which is what Celtic has. And if he can get him into passing and defending, I think it's a great move. Now, Campo, you were talking when we discussed this earlier. You had a thought on one of our homegrown boys. Do you want to bring that up?
Well, he got frozen out a bit under the old manager at Celtic. And then Ange has come in, given some faith back into Tom Rogic. And 3 weeks in a row, he's produced 90th minute, an assist, a goal, and he created this morning's goal as well to win it. He looks revived under Ange, which is really good to see coming up to the knockouts or for the World Cup qualifiers that Australia have to go through a hard run now. So Rogic should be first name on that team sheet.
All right. Well, we will leave that there. TFT around the grounds. We do have a very short review coming up, but we are going to end with an absolute cracker. But we'll jump into the first game of the week. Leeds 1, Arsenal 4. Campo, just because you love talking about Arsenal, you can take this one away.
It was Leeds just played how Leeds do. They made that many mistakes at the back there. Every single Arsenal goal there probably could have been dealt with. There was nothing that was like, damn, that was unstoppable. Leeds players just kept making mistake after mistake after mistake, and it's constant week after week after week. They are going to be in a real dogfight all year. But again, fair play. Arteta stuck with his young guns, kept all out of the game, and he got rewarded it with Saka scoring, Martinelli scoring twice, and Smith Rowe. So even though I fucking hate him, you can't discourage what Arteta's slowly turning that club around.
Well, I did promise Baxter that when Campo blamed it all on Leeds, I would defend Arsenal and say that they did play well. So I thought they played brilliant. Martinelli, absolute baller. He's starting to find his feet in the Premier League. Like you said, all those youngsters are coming through. And it's a very interesting time to be an Arsenal fan. We were sitting here, 10 weeks ago, and saying, if Arteta doesn't win his next 2 games, he's fired. And now they're looking at contract extension. So, Morty, what was your thoughts on this game and your thoughts on the turnaround that Arteta's done?
Oh, it's good to see. I mean, it brings one of the big clubs back into the talks. It's all fun and games when you got teams running away, and like already this year you can see that there's 2 pulling. But it is much more enjoyable when you've got like a top 6, top 8 battling it out with every opportunity. So it's great to see a bit more coming out of Arsenal, and Arteta's done a great job. I think his next challenge now is just going to be holding on to these youngsters and getting them to be starting week in, week out, and trying to get them some European football.
Yeah, exactly right. If they can get back in that European football, start attracting some big names, hopefully they do get back in that hunt, and we do start to see a top 6 rather than a top 2, top 3. So moving on to a team that, based on what Morty just said, he's not rating them in the title chase because he said 2 teams are running away with it. It is Wolves 0, Chelsea 0. Morty, you love talking about Chelsea when they don't win points or they lose points. Take it away.
Well, for starters, this is what happens when a back 5 meets a back 5, and yeah, what I don't understand what was expected of this game. Tuchel, I don't know. He looks a bit lost, to be honest. Like, by now, someone would have tried something new, and he kind of just keeps sticking with it, and it's not working for him. Everyone's just going, if you're not going to attack, I'm not going to attack you. I get my point. I'm happy. You get your point. It's a disaster. So, fair enough. I mean, Wolves did the same thing as Liverpool. We found a way, just barely, but we didn't sit back as far as Chelsea, that's for sure. And Chelsea looked just content. It's a bit strange, to be honest.
Yeah, I think obviously we do have to take into account, I was very surprised this game did go ahead with all the injuries and the COVID that was spreading around. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the lineup, but they started with Pulisic up top. So there was no Werner. There was no Lukaku. No Havertz. Yeah, so there's a list of big names out, Morty. You can get to yours in a second. You've had your time. There was a lot of names out, but I agree 100% with you where even when those players are in, Chelsea are just looking lost at the moment. And it's as if they're going, someone save us. Now, Kante was back. They look a little bit more stable, but in attack, they just look shambolic. Campo, what were your thoughts? And then we'll jump back to Morty.
We all thought Wolves opened the scoring. If Jimenez doesn't play the ball, it's 1-0 because he's swung at it, doesn't count. He's tried to attack the ball, ruled offside. But then, Chelsea did have some good chances with a Pulisic 1-on-1, but it was, Jose Sarr, who's really looking good for Wolves in goals at the moment. He's pulling off some really great saves, and it was a pretty dull game at the end of the day, but a point each is a fair result.
Yeah, Morty, what were you trying to add before?
Oh, I was just saying that they've bought every striker or attacking midfielder under the sun. That you'd name 3 players out, and I can name another 6 they could have put up there. So, it is what it is. But
yeah, it is. And like Campo said, as much as I think Mendy did play at that offside goal, I mean, he was smart to dive and it got ruled out for that reason. And they lived to see another day, but it does obviously now move them another couple points behind, obviously, Liverpool, behind Man City. And I'm going to go make some popcorn here. I'm just going to let you two battle this one out for the next couple of minutes.
City first.
Oh, we'll go City first. All right. Manchester City 4, Newcastle 0. Favourites in my books. Favourites I know in Campo's books. I'm going to let Campo take this away because I'm too happy that Newcastle got belted. So take it away, Campo.
No, I'm happy too. But again, first goal, shambolic defending. I think it was Kieran Clark maybe. Expecting his keeper to come out. Keeper was expecting him to head it away. Left Ruben Diaz, 4 yards out, unmarked. And then, a goal of the season contender again. Joao Cancelo absolutely runs through half the team and whips it in top corner. City are just, I think, at that next level above. I said they were going to go on a run, and it's up to Liverpool and Chelsea to keep up. They're starting to go on this run, and Chelsea is slipping up, and cracks, I think, are starting to show for Liverpool.
Morty, I'll let you
One win behind, mate. One win behind.
What were your thoughts on the game? We'll get into the Liverpool after. What were your thoughts on this game?
Well, for starters, Newcastle had a blatant pen. We'll just get into that one. That was absolutely shambolic that was not awarded. But take nothing away. I mean, City were never losing this game. Newcastle looked like, the goal they scored against Liverpool was their happy days. That was the best they're going to get, and they took that into this game and got belted. So, yeah, the game was only going one way, and that was it. So there's not much else to say other than, the start of the shambolic refereeing of that night, that morning, whatever that is in England, because it got worse.
I mean, Campo pretty much summed it up. There was pretty shambolic defending. The fact that a centre-back can be found 4 metres out with no one around him is just beyond me. Like, they're taking the piss that he's even that far up the pitch for that kind of ball. But like you said, Cancelo scored an absolute screamer. It's as if Trent does something, Cancelo responds, and usually we'd say James responds, but he's been a bit quiet as of late. So I think you could almost tie it down to those two are arguably the best informed players, defender-wise, in the Premier League at the moment. But we will move on to
in the league.
We will move on to what everyone is here to listen to. We should have done scissor, paper, rock to see who's going to start here. So one of you is just going to be able to jump in. Tottenham
Come
to
on, Campo. Let's go.
Liverpool to someone take it away.
I'm happy for Morty too because, he'll go on and say Harry Kane was a red card. Fair enough. It probably was. I'm not going to argue that. But he'll go the penalty, full blatant penalty. Again, probably was. But you're also forgetting Dele Alli got pushed in the back, 2 hands. That should have been a penalty too. Mo Salah headed it straight into his hand, which forces the change of direction of ball. Lloris pushes it out. Trent crosses it, and it leads to a goal. That goal should not have counted. So if you're going to say Liverpool got robbed, you're having a laugh. At the end of the day,
Having a laugh.
you are having a laugh if you think Liverpool got robbed.
Right.
All right, Morty, you can have your say on those. Let's have your say on those key decisions, and then we'll talk about the game as a whole.
Well, for starters, I mean, we can continue on about decisions that were made the whole game, but the fact that Kane was still on the pitch was the part that infuriated me to start with, because I'm not going to argue your decisions following. We're going to go question for question. But it starts off with a bloke that should have been sent off from the beginning. You should have been down to 10 men from 20 minutes onwards, and the game plays out much, much different the rest of that game.
In Kane's defense, everyone wants to 2-foot a Scottish player every now and again, so it's probably warranted in the Premier League.
But that's not the thing. Like, this is 20. I'm not talking about a 60th minute, whether this bloke should have been sent off or whatever. We've had a few questions here. This is 20 minutes in. The bloke studs up, absolutely munched him. We talk about. Did you ever watch the contact? Okay, did you watch the afterwards?
Yeah,
but can you mute yourself? Can you mute yourself while Morty's speaking, please? Morty, continue.
What is Robbo supposed to do there? He's literally jumping to avoid an almost season-ending injury. Like, let's be real, because that's what it is. And then the ref came out afterwards, whatever he was, not the ref of the game, but the fact that he's jumping up afterwards is the reason he wasn't sent off. So what's Robbo supposed to do? Cop it, and be out for the rest of the season? How is it not a red? We're going to sit here and blast away. We're talking about all this other stuff, and then we go on through that. But we talk about consistency, but it wasn't even checked by VAR. They just apparently asleep for the first half. Right? And then we come out.
No, it was come out. I'll jump in there. It was come out that it was checked. They said the speed, the velocity, and the height of his boot in relation to Robertson's foot did not warrant a clear and obvious error. So that was the reason it wasn't given a red card. I'm on your side, Morty. I think it should have been clean sent. I think most people watching the game should have, but yeah, that was the excuse they came out with. Whether that was to defend VAR, I don't know. But moving on, what was your thoughts on the penalty, Morty?
Which one? The one that
wasn't
awarded
given,
to who?
The one that wasn't awarded to you.
Well, it's pretty obvious that it should have been. But I'll sit here.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just going to go with it.
But I'll go with it and say if we're going to give our one, then you're probably going to award Dele Alli's one. But at the end of the day, those are the decisions that kind of rule each other out. Now, you want to talk about Salah's handball, right? But we ignore everything else that happens the rest of the game too. Right? The ball comes to arm. We don't even know what's a penalty these days, because apparently for the other week, City get away with it. Apparently it was a handball for jumping up with a natural position. So this one isn't like...
The new rule that has come into play is if you get an attacking advantage. They've got an attacking advantage. That ball should have been stopped then. So, I mean, I'm going to be the voice of reason here for a little bit. I think Kane, only reason he's on the pitch is because it's 20 minutes in. It's a big match. I think if that's the 75th, 80th minute and the game's gone, he's finished. He's off the pitch. But
I don't argue. Cage should have been sent.
Yeah,
it was reckless.
But these are the challenges we're talking about that change the match. Penalty decisions and whatever. We can sit here all day. We sit here week in, week out, challenging penalty decisions. But there's 9 of them last week. Like, you can. I'm not going to argue that. But when players should be blatantly sent off, why is it not happening? Because, they had no problem sending Robbo off 50 minutes later. And I'm not disagreeing that it shouldn't have been sent off too. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say he shouldn't have been sent off, because he should have. But this is what we mean. Like, who cares if it's 20 minutes in? If it's a challenge like that, it's a challenge like that. Jared got sent off in 20 seconds.
Yeah, that was funny. It was Jared.
But that's your problem. It would have been funny for Kane too. The bloke finally scored after how many matches, and he would have gone to get himself sent off.
Do you
because
think
that would have changed the game?
Yeah, I'll ask Campo first. Do you think it's because of who he is? Obviously, the England captain. He is the striker of England. He has always had somewhat of a clean record. Do you think that plays into it, Campo?
No, I think it's because Robbo jumped in the air. I think because his boot was angling down and caught the end of his foot.
His boot wasn't angled down.
No, but like
his boot was angled back. His studs were showing up.
Yeah, they were. But I'm not saying
I've been sent off for worse.
He wasn't hitting his ankle. He was hitting the end of his boot.
Yeah, but if he doesn't jump, that's a broken ankle. Like if he doesn't jump, that is horrendous. Like it's one of those things where does a player have to get injured to warrant that red card? Does a player have to get carried off in a medicab? It's definitely
we know the answer now. You know the answer now. They do.
Just stand still and get snapped. That's the answer, is it?
Yes.
Continuing on, Tottenham played it was like it's freaking the Champions League final. That was what you should have showed up with 2 years ago. But you haven't. And you've been asleep ever since. So thank you for finally waking up. But, we'll get into it too. Allison had a bit of an error. Whatever, it happens. He saved a few other ones. Lloris saved a few crackers too. The rest of it, fair enough. It's a good game, end-to-end stuff. That's what you want to see in the Premier League. But I'm just sick and tired of arguing over this bloke should have been sent off or that one should have, can we just get it right? The bloke has studs. Pogba, he got sent off straight red card. How many weeks ago was that? And I'd argue that was a yellow at the time. And Kane's is much, much worse.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's a tough one because I was obviously listening to Sky Sports. I was listening to Klopp's post-game interview, and it's as much as he said, he goes, you can't blame the referee, but what's going on in that VAR room? Who have you got up there? Are they trained properly? Do we have to get ex-players up there? Because I think any ex-player would have given that a red card or said, hey, go check it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a step, but then obviously you go towards that bias side of things. So
because
it is a tough one.
Reasoning for the Jota one?
What was that, sorry?
The reason for the Jota not being awarded penalty because he slowed down waiting for the contact. I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried striking a ball that quickly, you're about 10% odds on actually finishing the thing. You slow down a bit, you increase your chances. I don't understand what you're supposed to do there. He's got a bloke sliding in front of him. What, you're supposed to keep running into the bloke?
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. I definitely thought that was a penalty. I get what the ref was saying, but anyone that's played striker, anyone that's had a crack at goal knows that you need to slow down to make sure that impact does connect. Campo, are we saying clear penalty on that one?
Yeah, I don't argue. It's a clear penalty. But again, if that was a clear penalty, it's the reason why Delhi's wasn't given, I'm assuming, is because that wasn't given as well. So it all goes tit for tat for that.
It's a cycle.
Yeah, it's,
The whole game was a cycle of, that didn't get awarded, so we're not going to award this. They cannot keep doing that for games. They just need to play the rule and go, all right, and that's what on, because otherwise it ends up like this. I've got an argument, Campo's got an argument. We've got handball, this, that, penalty shout, this one, that one. All of it. It all turns into a big kerfuffle of a game where it could have just been down to one error, one refereeing decision. You know what? You can kind of wear it, but we're sitting here talking. There's this chance, there's that chance, there's this one, and the list goes on and on of who should have won or who should have won this, and that's the infuriating part because it just kept going on and on and on. Like, what is the point at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, well, myself personally, I don't think this round should have gone ahead. I don't think it was fair, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I don't think it was fair that Liverpool, after playing X amount of games, had to come up against a Tottenham that haven't played in, 3 weeks. So I think we saw that as the game went on, Tottenham kind of warmed up. They were the fresher team, and I think if this was two teams coming in either fatigued or two teams coming in rested, I honestly think Liverpool run rampant and they punish you. So
the other issue is, like, I'm not going to sit here and complain about players being out or this, that, because other teams have copped it too. But how many players have to have COVID or this thing for the game to be called off? Because we're up to 5, 6 now. I don't know how many Tottenham had at first. They only had 5, wasn't it? I know further down the track. No, but at first you had 5, and then it was later discovered after they cancelled the game, they went 5, 8 under 23s. What's going to happen when Liverpool, if we're at 5, then we're going to go 6, 7 maybe tomorrow, and then the game shouldn't have gone ahead anyway, because I know we sat here last pod and it was almost confirmed that Liverpool had to play Tottenham because Tottenham were already that far behind. I don't think it was ever going to be an option for the other way around.
Yeah,
so,
no, obviously. Go. Well, obviously there is reports coming out. There's reports coming out that there is a meeting tomorrow in England to discuss the future, or the next couple of weeks at least, of the Premier League. So I'll ask you first, Campo. Do you, as much as we're going to hate it, there's going to be nothing to watch, but do you think it's a smart move to just cancel the league for a couple of weeks, postpone it, and jump back in January? What are your thoughts on that?
Nope. Keep it going. What is it? The Omicron? Is it the Omicron variant over there? It's mild. It's a flu. You know, if you have to postpone. Just keep the season moving. Spurs are already 3 games behind. United are 2. It's just going to keep bunching up, and it's just going to be more clogged for more teams and later in the year.
I know, but that's the problem that we're going to go on now, is that if we were to start cancelling games, it's only going to hinder teams like Liverpool more. It'll hinder City as well, because you've got the African Cup of Nations that is still yet to be cancelled, and you're going to start going, oh, well, now you're going to play this game this date, this game this date, and it shuffles the time where Liverpool have almost worked it out. We're only missing, Mane, Salah, Matip for 2 games. It could turn to 3, it could turn to 4, and it's hurting. It's going to start hurting even more. But meanwhile, you've had Tottenham, who have had it earlier, gotten away with it, and really still they're better off for it because they've had, almost a full week of training. They had the COVID, the 2 weeks. They come back in, full week of training, back up to speed, and you look how fresh they were.
But again,
and the rest of the league's been through the most rigorous time in all of world football. Like Christmas time is the most rigorous time in all of world football. Everyone else is on break. So,
but then
it's just frustrating.
It makes our Christmas period into February or January, whenever they want to postpone it. We will still go through a busy period regardless. It's just not going to be when everyone else.
You've got no other competitions, mate. You've got nothing.
That's if we're kicked out of the European. This doesn't mean confirmed.
That doesn't matter. We've got everyone else has EFL Cup. We've got FA Cups. We've got Champions League. We've got Europa Leagues. We've got the leagues. Just because
Morty does bring up a good point there. We do say that this is going to benefit Spurs. If the league was to get cancelled for a couple of weeks, that does open up your schedule to play that game that needs to be played before the 31st for the Conference League. So again, that is something that ties into Spurs' hand. Myself, I think it's, as much as it's a big cup, cancel the FA Cup, or the FA Cup, sorry. It hasn't gone ahead yet. There's no major teams that have played massive games yet. Obviously, the League Cup, it's almost at its finishing point. Let that go ahead. But something's got to give, because we can't keep postponing games. We can't let this league go into September, for example, because the World Cup's coming up. So,
but it's not just going to be Tottenham either, because it'll benefit Villa, who, fresh manager in. He's only been there for a couple of months. You've got teams like Newcastle. If Newcastle postpone their games, go on a spending spree in January, bring all the things. How does that benefit anyone other than Newcastle? Like, we're at this time, we're going through it now, and even still, the Liverpool players didn't even know they had COVID because they're only forced to have the test because of the other teams that are getting it. None of them were actually sick. Now, we can continue going on and on, player safety and this and that, whatever, but they played through worse beforehand. They've all been vaccinated. The ones that aren't vaccinated, fair off. Kick them off the thing. Go, you're not playing until you're vaccinated, or you're not going, whatever for them. But the players have done the right thing so far. They're the ones that have been in lockdown. They've come out of the other side. Just let them play. because at some point we've just got to move on and live with it. If you want to isolate them into their groups and get into their groups, that's fine. But it's
Yeah, obviously it's tough times coming up. I think we could see it go back behind closed doors. I think that's a reasonable thing at the moment. Just if you want the league to continue, let the players all get tested. Once they're negative, you can see your family, you can come to the training ground, that's it. In the end, they get paid way too much money not to do that. But we've kind of got a bit off track here with the COVID. Campo, I will get your last thoughts on the game. Fair result. Did you think you deserved the win? Did you think Liverpool deserved the win on the basis of the play? Take away the decisions?
Based off play, we had the clearer chances. We had a lot of one-on-ones, and BELALI was just a short pass here and there from it being. We could have been 3-0 up at halftime, or 3-1 up. But again, this was the first game where I've seen a whole different side playing under Antonio Conte, and I'm like, wow, this is an Antonio Conte side. We're playing different. We're playing sharp. It looks like we've finally learned this system, and I think it was a fair
3 weeks off.
But I'll take it. 3 weeks off, learn a new system, and we'll just keep moving on from here.
All I know is, Morty, you and Baxter wanted to laugh at me when I said there was a conspiracy that they weren't actually sick and they were just training for this game last podcast. So, Morty, I'll ask you the same question before we wrap up. Fair result. Take away the decisions. We know you both think your team should have won if you put those decisions into play. What was your thoughts on the game taking away those negative decisions?
At the end of 97 minutes or whatever it ended up being, it's a fair result for what happened on the pitch. But you put Liverpool's full strength on that pitch and Tottenham don't stand a chance. So
Whoa. We're playing Harry Winks in the midfield, for Christ's sake.
That doesn't matter. That is you go through that squad. You laughed at that squad after you slept through the game and woke up the other side. You go through that squad and you look at their paychecks. They're all at the top of the page, mate. They're all there. Don't be sitting here saying that you're worse players because you've had some young blokes come in and do a bit better than these ones. They're all on the big wages. We're the one playing with a kid who was born 10 days after Milner made his freaking debut. And Milner's still in the midfield with him. Milner's career is as old as the kid that debuted for us. So
you should just be
we can
disappointed
continue
you didn't
on.
score 3 against Eric Dyer.
We can go on. That's fine.
All right.
I think Eric Dyer hasn't been the same since he had to jump into the crowd, We don't have that sort of issue here. We
he's
score
world class
goals
now.
and we win leagues. I don't know about Tottenham, but I don't know what you've done. Let's be real. An Audi Cup.
Took a point off you, baby.
We'll wrap that up there. Obviously, this could go on for hours if we really want to, but we are pushing that 35-minute barrier. So we may be back next week. We may not. We'll try and find something to do in the break if there is a delay. But for now, we've been your Football Tragics. Thanks for joining in, boys.
Cheers, mate.